Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to my sound space here in Cornwall for the new moon in Scorpio, Soundscape. I keep gazing off over there because I've got my setup moved around again. I'm trying to experiment with getting the sound in this room just right and not have too much echo. So move things around again. The laptop's somewhere else, so bear with me if you see me looking all over the place. I'm just keeping an eye on the settings. It's great to have you guys here with me. Welcome and thank you for being here. I am not going to be able to see live chat particularly well because of the physical arrangement of my space today, so I will periodically, I guess, probably just pop over and have a look, check everything's okay. But if you do have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try and get to them as we move through the session this evening, and if not, we'll cover them at the end or on message afterwards if need be. So, my name's Jane. If you haven't been here before, thank you so much for joining. I'm a sound therapist, a crystal Reiki therapist, a Reiki master. I also work with essential oils and various other practices and weave all of this together on what I call a ritual soundscape. And this is really a celebration of the lunar energy, of the cyclical energy of nature that we are all in vibration with, in flow with. And what we're really trying to do in this space is explore some of the tools that we can access at a vibrational level to help us really explore the moon and all the energy it offers us a little more clearly, in a little more detail and with a bit more impact and power. And also to help us relax, to meditate, to find our way into some out-of-body and subconscious journeying, which for me personally is the absolute best way to help explore our subconscious, to help us explore what lies beyond our physical realm, to help us really try and get a steer on what we're doing here, what our function is, what our path, our dharma is all about. So the moon offers us this wonderful opportunity every 29 or so days to simply get in flow with the energy, get in flow with nature. And I don't know about you guys, but I find that I often just veer off course and that I'll find that I'll be in a pretty good place for a few days and then I have a really bad day and it throws me out. And the moon is this wonderful kind of way of keeping us plugged into nature. And whenever I go off-piste completely, I know that I'm never far from another lunar moment to bring me back into flow and back into nature. So hopefully that's something that everybody can resonate with. Just because I've set this up a little weird and I didn't have time, as I said, to really check everything right before I switched on, I'm just going to take one moment to just quickly have a look at the settings, see that everything's okay, and hopefully the chat is on. It wasn't working just before I sat down, so I was a minute or two late trying to figure it out. So I'm just going to check that now. If anyone is also switching on a few moments late, welcome, hi. Please get yourself comfy, make sure you have headphones to hand. I will be talking at you and with you for 20 minutes or so before we get into the sound in detail. But once we get into the sounds with the gongs and the bowls, you are definitely going to want to have your headphones because the stereo sound is so much better when you have that coming into both ears. If you haven't got headphones, don't switch off, it's okay, but just be mindful that you may have a little bit of distortion with the sound. So you can always come and replay later. If you're here now, you'll have this link for 2 weeks. Do also grab your cacao if you're working with plant medicine tonight, or a nice tea if you haven't already got one. Make sure if you have any crystals you like to work with that you have those to hand. If you are planning to really lie down and get cozy as you would in a sound space in a gong bath ordinarily, then make sure you're really warm and cozy. Socks on, blankets to hand. If you can be in bed, even better. The amazing thing we've discovered in nearly 9 months now of these sessions online is that you really get the opportunity when you're at home to find an extra level of comfort just by being in your own space and your own energetic realm with safety all around you, and then not having to drive anywhere afterwards is an absolute win. So do take a moment just to get yourself fully comfy. Bear with me for 1 second while I have a quick look at the feed and make sure we're all good. So for whatever reason, I cannot see the live chat tonight. So if you do have questions, if you need to let me know anything that's going on with the sound or any questions you have, I'm going to keep my phone. Usually I keep it out of the way, but I'm going to keep it somewhere I can see it. So the best way to find me will be to visit Instagram at _silence_and_noise_ and drop me a DM in there, and I'll keep that on somewhere I can see it so I can keep track of any issues. So let's crack on. Scorpio is without doubt my favourite season and my favourite moon of the year. Those of you who follow me on any social or get my newsletter will know that that's almost certainly because I'm a Scorpio sun. I also have Mercury, Uranus and a few other signs in Scorpio, or planets in Scorpio. It's a sign I really align with. I've spent my whole life being really aware of this kind of tempestuous, fiery, although watery energy that this sign really embodies. So when we get to this season every year, I always feel, and I'm sure you will feel this with your sun signs or any signs you have a really heavy weighting of in your chart, that it really feels a bit like coming home. It's like you're really kind of in your power. All of your most potent, most kind of intense aspects of your personality are really on point, on fire, on all cylinders, and it really feels like everything is possible. It's a really empowering time, and one of the things that's really great when you work with the moon is to really notice when those peaks and troughs come for you. And if you start to work with your astrological chart, your natal chart, you'll almost certainly start to see that the peaks where you're feeling really empowered and really positive and uplifted and things are just kind of coming into alignment for you, and most likely the times when you've got some really strong energy in that house or that sign, and you're just really able to tap into it really strongly. I know for me that I find that around Gemini season in June is when I'm usually at my lowest ebb. I've got nothing in Gemini. I've got very little resonance with that energy, with the ruling house, with the ruling planets, and I find that a really hard time. It's not that I don't have it. We all have elementally aspects of all the signs and all the houses, but some of them are just scaled up or scaled down, and I know that for me it's really noticeable because all of my chart is pretty much in Libra, Scorpio and Sag, so the other side of the year just can be a little bit hard work, but this side's amazing. So I was actually born on the new moon in Scorpio and in a Mercury retrograde, so this is a really super high energy day for me, so hopefully you'll all bear with me if I get carried away. And Scorpio energy is very, it can be really divisive, as you probably all know. It's very transformative. It's really challenging. Like, we have a big energy, we have a lot of it. It's very dynamic. This is the most active of all the water signs, and it's the one that really is really kind of fearless in the face of needing to reinvent. One of my friends said to me a couple of years ago how she never knew anyone apart from a couple of really good Scorpio friends who have this capacity to just keep shape-shifting, keep changing, keep kind of moving into new forms and new ways of being, adapting. And that's a very water element kind of energy. Pisceans have it as well, Cancerians have it as well, but Scorpio have this kind of almost heat behind the water, like a simmer all the time. So you'll probably be feeling some of that in the prevailing energy. Whatever you have in your chart, wherever your Scorpio is, if you don't have much of it at all, that energy of just progress and transformation is really big at this time of year. And I find it really interesting as well how we have a lot of kind of big hallmark events at this time of year. Things like, I've always loved the idea of the gunpowder plot and everything we normally celebrate, not this year, around fireworks night all kind of fits into the Scorpio world. Samhain and the need for that kind of really extreme connection to our third eye, to our higher consciousness, also falls in our Scorpio season. And then in a more modern sense, a lot of our political activities and reopening of Parliament, the US election, all these things that fall at this time where that sense of transformation is really tangible. So it's a really, really exciting, positive energy. And this year it's even bigger because we've had so much going on in the last week alone. If we go back 10 days, the beginning of November, the 3rd, we had Mercury going direct after a long period of retrograde in which communication was a bit stark and misunderstandings, kind of lack of self-expression really comes up at this time. Then we've had 11/11, the numerologically important portal, which is really all about manifestation in terms of numerology, which isn't necessarily one of my big subjects, but particularly because my birthday is then, I really connect with this particular numerical energy. It's really about kind of the opportunity to see these kind of pillars. You see the number ones as pillars, kind of gates of past and present and future. Opportunities to go into the higher realms and the underworld and just have this kind of full, kind of 3D vision. We've then had on the 12th Jupiter and Pluto's final conjunct of the year, and that's something I'm going to talk to you about in a lot more detail tonight, because for me that is the prevailing energy that's really important right now. And then we have had on the 13th, on Friday, as well as the kind of goddess energy of Friday the 13th, which sits in a lot of traditions and cultures. We also had Mars going direct, and Mars, like Mercury, has been going backwards for about 2 months. So Mars rules over our solar plexus, our activity, our action, our doing. And having Mars going retrograde, or been seen to be retrograde, just means things are kind of stuck. It doesn't mean that things can't happen. It just makes moving forward a little more challenging. And to me, it's been really interesting that we've had, I keep mentioning the US election again. If you follow my work, you'll know it's been quite a big thing for me for various reasons. But it's interesting to me that the election's on the 3rd, and it's taken all the way until now, until basically the 13th, for the actual result to come in, and that's where things can move forward. And then finally, today, the new moon, and it's a lunar eclipse, and it's a supermoon, which means it is the moon time when the moon is the closest to Earth. So even though this is a dark moon, so new moon, we can't see it, it's a shadow in the sky, and the moon is actually as close to the Earth right now, more or less, as it is all year round. There's only one other moon this year that was closer. So all that really does is amplify. It doesn't do, people get excited about supermoons, and when it's a full supermoon, it's amazing because it's so big, and it's a great day for telescopes and telephoto cameras, but actually what it really means is we're just being more amplified. The energy is bigger. And if, like me, you live in Cornwall and you're by the water, you'll have seen that the tides have been crazy high the last few days. There's been some roads here in Newquay have been flooded because the tide is so high, which is really a direct result of the moon being a supermoon. So, lots of things to talk about. And as ever, I could go for absolutely hours just on the pure cosmology and the planetary stuff. So we're going to take a pause, partly so I can take a pause, and come into some conscious breathing. And this is also just so those of you, I know a few people have joined a few minutes late tonight, to just take a few moments to come into the space and get comfy. And then we'll start having a look at some of the science and the psychology and the elemental stuff, the crystals around the Scorpio moon. So to start with, find yourself a comfortable seat if you haven't already. Do stay sitting up for this rather than lying if you can. And just take a moment to clear your lungs. So take a really deep inhale in through the nose and breathe out almost like a sigh. And take a couple of those breaths, just really feeling the air travel up your throat and back out through the lips, almost vibrating the lips on the way out. And then as you notice your own breath, your own kind of state of being, your own life force, we'll switch into conscious breathing. So 4-4-8 is the count. We inhale through the nose to the count of 4. We hold breath at the top to the count of 4, and then exhale but through the lips to the count of 8. So look something like this. Inhaling and hold. And exhaling. So let's all pick that up together, breathing in, inhaling in through the nose to the count of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Holding your breath, 2, 3, and 4. Exhale softly through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Inhale through the nose. 2, 3, and 4. Holding your breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Carry on in this way, 4-4-8. And as you come to your hold, this time see if you can send your awareness to the space between the eyebrows. And just notice as you're in that kind of fully inhaled state, how you feel, what awareness, what colour, what shape, what sensation is in that third eye, Ajna chakra. And as you start to get used to the rhythm and the flow, you'll notice that you can find your exhale gets a bit longer. Maybe the first couple you ran out of breath around the count of 6 or even earlier. If you start to really temper and measure the exhale, you'll notice it becoming a lot more comfortable over the course of a few rounds. So we're going to carry on and do 7 or 8 rounds of this. So obviously you guys are all in your own rhythm. If you'd like to, one thing you can introduce is a hold at the bottom as well. So it's 4, 4, 8, 4, inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 8, hold 4. So 4, 4, 8, 4. And on the exhale, also taking your awareness up to the third eye. And you'll see it feels quite different when you're fully inhaled and fully oxygenated. Almost sends you quite quickly into quite a trippy state. So this is a really, really useful breath. And as you guys all know, I often talk very quickly and have a lot to fit in. And I find that I come back to this breath a lot just in my day-to-day, just sat here at my desk in my studio, often just in a normal flow of a day, or if I'm in a shop and everything's just a bit overwhelming. It's a really quick way to calm the nervous system, flick on the parasympathetic nervous system, and just get yourself into a state of really deep oxygenated awareness. So conscious breathing, 4, 4, 8, 4. I encourage you to try as much as you can. And as you're moving through what is going to be your last round, so wherever you are, really taking extra notice this time of that third eye and the full inhalation and the full exhalation. And if you haven't tried holding on the exhale yet, then please do at this point. Give you a moment while I'm keeping a little eye on messages in case any of you need to let me know anything that's going on for you. So we're also going to spend just a little moment here, now we're in a calmer space, just taking 2 or 3 minutes for some free writing. And this is going to be around or inspired by the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which I mentioned earlier as being a really big astrological event. So the third and final conjunction of 2020 happened on the 12th of November, a couple of days ago. The first one was back at the beginning of April, the 4th, and the second was June the 30th. So without attaching too much information to those dates yet, what I would love for you to do is, if you have a paper and pen or journal, if this is part of your practice, to pick up your pen and just think about the beginning of April and just start writing, see what comes to mind. Do you have any particular memories of that period of time? Do you remember what was going on in your life? What was happening for you? What was important? Any big changes? And then move on and do the same for June, back end of June, the very end of June, like the 30th. And maybe sometimes it's not cheating to check on your phone and have a look at your calendar and maybe prompt yourself with what you were up to over those few days. Or maybe you can just close your eyes and project yourself back and see what comes up, see what instinctively feels relevant for you. So just take a moment to jot a few things down. If you're not into journaling, if you're not writing, don't worry. You can just take a moment to think. Just have a think about where you were, what was going on, what felt important. I'll give you a moment to sit with that practice. Okay. So obviously you can take some more time on this if you'd like to. Don't feel you have to be limited by the time I'm giving you. I'm obviously not trying to have too much dead air for those of you who are not going to spend so much time journaling. The reason I asked you to have a little think about those prompts, about those triggers, is that Jupiter and Pluto have been having this magical dance through the skies all year long. They first were conjunct at the beginning of April, and then in June, and then this week. And what this arc, this kind of journey is really all about is the meeting of two really big opposing energies. So Jupiter is our kind of ruler of the heavens, about expansion, positivity, optimism. People often say Jupiter is the planet of silver linings, always seeing the best possible outcome. Pluto, on the other hand, is the ruler of Scorpio, and thus the underworld, and is kind of the dark lord, the ruler of transformation, of big changes. So when these two come together, there can be quite a clash. They're two quite different energies. But actually there's a really big opportunity for the Jupiter energy, that positive, expansive energy, to be kind of fueled by Pluto's transformation, and for the two to work in really beautiful harmony to create some really big change. So the general astrological thinking is that this energy, this Jupiter-Pluto story, has really been all about abundance and the idea of what's important to us. And that's why I wanted to encourage you to see what's come up for you. And what's really interesting when you look at the dates, the timestamps of this particular aspect, this particular conjunction we've been experiencing this year, is that the first one came within a couple of weeks of the pandemic really kicking in. So I think for most of us, we, even in mid-March, weren't really aware of, you know, how big this was suddenly going to become. I really remember sitting in a hotel in Bristol. I'd been there for a meeting with my partner, and I think it was like the 14th or 15th of March, and I still had a retreat booked for the 21st and was still totally expecting to be doing it. And we were sat in this hotel and we heard the news that the Football Association had decided to suspend the Premier League, and we were like, wow, this is huge. Like, that was our first kind of real warning sign. And then all of a sudden it went from 0 to 60, as I think many of us remember. And then the next thing we knew, we were going into lockdown, everything was shutting down. I was cancelling retreats and events, and all sorts of things just happened in a hurry. And I think it was probably 2 or 3 weeks after that, around early April, that I began to really kind of process and get my head around what was happening globally and personally. And just talking to people over the interim period, I think that's been similar for a lot of people. So that first Jupiter-Pluto conjunction for me was really the starting point of actually, okay, all of the stuff we know is being torn down and shut down and pulled from under our feet. What does that mean? Like, what's important now? All the things we value that we think are important suddenly seem unavailable, or actually our priorities might really have shifted. You know, what's that all about? The next touch point's kind of the other end. It's just before we came out of lockdown in the UK. Obviously, I know some of you are watching this from outside the UK, but the dates are fairly balanced for, you know, wherever you are in the world. It's a similar kind of general window of time. So the second Jupiter-Pluto was June the 30th, so just a few days before things began to shift back the other way again. So this is another opportunity for that touch point, again, coming back to the theme of abundance, kind of positivity, silver linings. By this point, a lot of us were in quite a big situation. A lot of people had already lost their businesses, or were on the way to, or were finding their living situation totally changed. Maybe the job that they'd been moving towards wasn't happening anymore, was no longer even in existence. And it's a really interesting time to see what was happening then as opposed to April. You know, what's changed in that 3-month window? You know, what's important now? What's abundant now? For a lot of us, I know I personally had really valued my free time and my health in a really different way by the end of that window. And then we're invited to spring forward from the end of June to this week. Now where are we at? In this big arc from April to June to now. Where have you gone? Where have you been? What do those 3 timestamps mean and show you? What was abundance like in April? How did it journey, and where is it now? And really the invitation of Jupiter-Pluto is to kind of complete this cycle. Not a circle, a cycle. And to really arrive at this transformative Scorpio New Moon with all the learnings of that Jupiter-Pluto experience, and go, actually, what do I really want now? Because probably what I started with this year is just completely off the table. Totally different things have happened. And the opportunity to now use this big transformative energy with Pluto's kind of ruling zodiac through Scorpio energy to now enact all that stuff we've learned. So, I mean, for me personally, and again, if you get my newsletter, I apologise for repeating myself, but I started this year thinking I was going to get this product business underway this year, and this might be a thing I'd aim to do by Christmas. And then very quickly in lockdown, it became clear this was a thing I could do straight away, because I couldn't do, at the time, I didn't have my microphone, all the bits and pieces that I need to make these sessions work. So I was very limited. And actually what I felt was going to be abundant for me, both personally and professionally, was to be moving my rock and ritual project forward. And now, as we come to the end of the year, that's actually my main feature. I'm barely doing any live events right now because we're back in lockdown. I learned from the first one that I was doing way too many. It was putting a lot of pressure on myself and causing a lot of overwhelm. And actually the best thing was to really take some time to deliver a few things well instead of loads of volume, but be a bit chaotic. I'm not sure if that's totally worked. You guys can tell me. But it's interesting for me to see how that journey has evolved, and how actually abundance, both of time and energy, as well as financial abundance, which is really not what it's about, have really shifted. So maybe just take a moment to look at your notes, your free writing, and just see if you can pop up any themes, or if maybe that insight has helped you notice any other themes you want to come to. And this really is, this idea about abundance is a culmination of something I've been talking about all year long. It's really this idea of abundance not being money and stuff and capital, and what our ruling elites and this kind of patriarchal world that we live in, certainly in a lot of the West, is really all about. Actually a much more yin, feminine, intuitive energy, and a much more expressive abundance is really about our health and our happiness and our kind of vitality for life, which has nothing to do with what we have and this stuff. But I do feel personally that this year has been a big journey of that becoming more obvious for a lot more people. So see if it resonates for you. What we're going to do, I think, what should we do? Should we look at some crystals maybe? I wasn't really aware that I talk at you guys loads at the beginning of these. I'm just going to move my crystal table back here a little bit so I can show you. So I'm trying to experiment a bit, you'll see, with being a bit closer to the camera early on in these sessions, so that I can hopefully you can see a bit more than normal. So this is the grid I've been working with this week, and actually I made this grid on Tuesday, which is my birthday, and I'm really happy with it. It's made me really happy this week. Scorpio is all about rebirth and reinvention. This new moon is so much about reinvention. As I said, this Jupiter-Pluto cycle and the Mars retrograde, everything's just kind of been priming us really for this moon and this final eclipse season of the year, where the big stuff can really happen and really take root. So it's an incredibly exciting time, no matter where your astrology lies. One of the things that Scorpio energy is less positive about is baggage, crap, the old stuff. We have this immense power for reinvention, willpower, psychological strength and depth, and really iron willpower when we want to. But generally, Scorpio energy is well known for hanging on to baggage and grief and grudges and karmic vibes that we're not so good at letting go of. So I've put this enormous great piece of lepidolite in the centre of my grid today, so I can see nice and clearly. It's really, I just bought this recently in Glastonbury, actually, where I went there for my birthday just before the lockdown. We were supposed to be there this week, and very quickly rearranged so we could get there and I could go to my favourite sound healing shop. If you ever were in Glastonbury, there was a store there called the Sound Healer, which I encourage you to go to. And there's so many great crystals there as well, so I always like to pick up a new one to mark a visit. And this lepidolite is really just a fantastic piece. So lepidolite, for anyone that hasn't used it before, has this, it's kind of very iridescent. It's quite like tourmaline. It has this kind of slicey, fibrous quality. It tends to be in these slices naturally. You can get pebbles of it which are more polished. Actually, I've got one here I can show you. But you can see that this kind of completely loses its magic when it's polished up. It goes into a really like flat purple. And I kind of like to use this. It's nice to have for meditation. A palm stone's always handy for meditation, so I keep losing my camera. But this is just so much more magic. So lepidolite is one of the best things to be working with if you are interested in moving on from old baggage. It's also something I use a lot for grief. It's something that is really supportive if you're moving through loss, if you have lost a loved one, if you are losing a relationship, any kind of loss or environment in which you might be feeling lack or scarcity. Lepidolite is a really great tool. So this is really an anchor for my Scorpio grid, because the propensity for Scorpio energy is definitely to go into that hanging on to the old stuff. And actually at this time of enormous positivity and transformation, we want to be moving forward and not get bogged down. So it's really important to grid that in centrally. And I'm rooting it with this beautiful citrine. So this is a natural citrine. It's not particularly enormous because natural citrine is really expensive and really hard to come by in its purely natural form. Trying to get this in focus so you can see it properly. It's really hard. So natural citrine, a beautiful soft lemony colour. I always work with a pointer generator point at the centre of a grid when you're working with Reiki energy. I find that really supportive. Citrine is the stone of abundance, so fitting into our themes this evening. And the invitation with citrine is really to help us look at what abundance is for us, what's our truth. We know what abundance looks like to the stock market and to Donald Trump and to many other people, but what does it look like for us? What's our own truth? And maybe it's health in a certain aspect, not just general health. Maybe it's having strong knees in yoga, or maybe it's being able to go running every day. Maybe abundance is being able to afford to go and buy all your food at the amazing health food shop instead of the supermarket, or maybe it's been able to afford to buy food at all. So for all of us, it's a really different journey. But citrine is a really amazing tool for helping us not only to call abundance in. It was always used in ancient times in a money bag or a pocket bag to help encourage financial abundance in, but it's also just about helping us understand the abundance and what we already have, which is something that for me is really tied into this journey this year. Also on the iridescent front, we have beautiful Labradorite. Again, trying to catch the light. I've got really awkward lights in here. There we go. This amazing kind of iridescent, opalescent flicker of light in Labradorite. So Labradorite is the stone of transformation. Again, you can have, it kind of stays pretty cool when it's polished, actually, better than Lepidolite. This is a polished pebble version. And Labradorite is all about transformation. This is a wonderful companion stone when you're going through big change. It's a wonderful stone when you're going through archetypal change as a woman. So I just turned 40 this week, and for me, Labradorite has been a real constant companion this last year as I've started to really approach this kind of shift into a new decade, into a move from kind of the mother in towards that wild woman energy, if we talk about Shakti and Yoni yoga. So Labradorite, great companion for change, and really kind of about higher consciousness as well. It's a really intuitive stone, really great for the third eye. It's quite nice to lie with a piece of Labradorite on your third eye if you're looking to get into shamanic journeying. We've also got amazing Malachite. So not iridescent, just amazing green lava. Got a beautiful piece of this downstairs I meant to bring up to show you. I'll put it on my Instagram. So Malachite is really an amazing stone. It's got a lot of copper in it, which is where the green comes from. It's super protective, super psychic, incredibly powerful, and actually often it's advised to be quite gentle with it unless you're trained with crystals, or maybe keeping it off the body and working with it in a grid rather than holding it so much. But Malachite is really, it's really helpful with psychic work. So it's really great if you're trying to go deeper in a sound journey. As I mentioned, Scorpio is a very psychic energy. And at this time of year, we have a real opportunity to get deeper into our psyche, into our third eye, and what lies beyond with wonderful Malachite. I've also got some blue Kyanite, and I'm not going to pick them up because it's quite hard, but you can see these little blue kind of, easier one here, kind of like almost like a shard. So blue Kyanite is a wonderful stone for the throat chakra, for communication. Often Scorpios get tangled with this. It's not our favourite chakra. If Scorpios have a lot of Mercury, if you have Mercury in Scorpio like I do, that can be a challenge. It can be really hard to be heard, to get your voice across. I often find I have troubles with this. And Kyanite's just really supportive as we move through potentially muddy waters where we can get quite stuck in that deep kind of, not grudgy, but kind of heavy emotional energy. And there is a lot of that around right now. It's not a bad thing. It needs dispersing, but it's there. So blue Kyanite's a really good one, especially with Mercury going back direct again. It's a nice opportunity to release the stuff that's maybe been a bit blocked up while we've had that retrograde. And finally, I've got these little pieces of Herkimer Diamond, just tiny little ones, teeny tiny. Herkimer is in upstate New York, and Herkimer Diamonds, which are mined there, sometimes they're also called light diamonds, are some of the clearest quartz. They're surprised as being some of the most pure. And clear quartz is the master healer. It's really an all-out cleanser, a cosmic computer that can absorb all of our energy and then give back to us what we need as we need it. So Scorpionic energy in particular can be quite polarized, can not always see the wood for the trees, can get very focused and very single-minded on things. So a little bit of clarity from Herkimer Diamond is no bad thing whatsoever. So I'm working today with beautiful herbs. So as always, I'm not going to go too crazy with the cleansing. I do tend to smoke myself out a little bit in this room. So I'll just show you what I'm using. This is a lovely little bundle, and it's Cornish sage. It's got some mugwort, which is a wonderful witchy herb that we love to use for the third eye. Mugwort tea is a really nice thing to be drinking during sound sessions or meditation. It really helps you look at lucid dreaming and open up that opportunity for subconscious journeying a bit more. And we've also got lavender. So lavender is an oil I'm using a lot right now as well, which is a nice antidote to Scorpio energy. So So as I mentioned, I'm just going to bring my candle here. So Scorpio needs a bit of calm a lot of the time. We tend to go 1,000 miles a minute. Again, you may have noticed. So I have cleansed all these already, but just for the benefits of the session, I'm just going to recharge my key crystals here. So yeah, lavender is a really nice calming influence. Geranium is also really good if Scorpio is feeling a bit wired, a bit het up. But I particularly am always drawn to the classic Scorpionic scents. So things like frankincense, stuff that's very third eye centric. Definitely patchouli, sandalwood, neroli, all those slightly sensual sacral scents as well. Sacral chakra, the second chakra, is the one that Scorpio rules over. That's the seat of the water element. And this is where we deal with our emotions and our reactions and responses, all that big heavy stuff. So, get all these crystals cleansed. Oh, and I forgot to mention the last one, obsidian. So obsidian is a very powerful shamanic stone, very protective. Those of you that were with me for Samhain a couple of weeks ago will have seen this before. This is a wand version, so this is a reflexology wand, so it's really pointed at the end. I use it on the soles of my feet. The other end is rounded, and this is one you can use around your chakras to open up the space. I use it a lot with the heart chakra, anti-clockwise first to invoke the release of any negative energies, pulling them out and sending them away. Make sure your door or window is open or there's nowhere for them to go, much like the smoke. And then going the other way, using the point, directing positive energy in to fill the space that you've just cleared. And that's the very basics of using a wand. But I like to have obsidian around in general. It's a big part of my personal practice. Very protective, very, very powerful in terms of healing. And healing is a big theme through this particular lunation, through this moon. Healing kind of our personal journeys of the year, of our personal experiences of a lot of change and transformation. Obsidian's a wonderful tool to help you heal and balance that out as we reach the culmination of this journey. So, I had one other thing to talk to you about and I didn't get it out, the tarot cards. I don't have my tarot out and I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to go pull them now. But the tarot card for Scorpio is death. I'm sure I must have talked to you guys about this before, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on Samhain. But death is the card that people always freak out when they get in tarot. It's really not as simple as you pick the death card, you're going to die, we're all going to die. But it's not a bad omen. It's really, it's representative of transformation again, of resurrection. The Scorpio sheds its skin, the phoenix rises from the flames. These are the two big Scorpionic symbols. And the idea is that we're moving through this cycles of birth and death and rebirth. That's what Scorpio energy is all about, this kind of karmic continuity, closing of the circle. And the death card really only indicates that a new beginning is about to happen. And the intensity of the new beginnings is what we really mark on this Scorpio new moon. So I encourage you, as we start to move towards the sound, to really just have a think about the energies I've talked about here, about abundance, about baggage and karma, about intuition, psychic work. Plug these in to your own personal journey through Jupiter Pluto this year, and through the intensity of Scorpionic new beginnings, powered up by the supermoon, by being even bigger, dialed up to 10. And just take a moment to scribble a few things down or take a few mental notes. And what we'll do is start to edge towards the sounds together. Move my grid slightly out of camera so I can see you all. So I'm working with cacao tonight. So cacao is a very sacred plant medicine. It's the cacao spirit that we invoke when we work with this medicine. I am working with a ceremonial dose tonight, which is 42 grams in about 250 ml of water, but a 25 gram dose would be a daily dose. If you're interested in cacao, I am now selling it. In fact, I forgot to show you. Gorgeous ritual cacao. So this is imported by a good friend of mine who I did some training with, gorgeous Rebecca. She imports it from the Ecuadorian Amazon. She trained out in Peru and it comes through the tribes that she connected with over there. So it is non-GMO, it's organic, wild harvested and fair trade. And if you're interested in developing a cacao practice and working more with plant medicines, I thoroughly recommend it. There's lots of rubbish out there, lots of non-sustainable cacao, and it's really important if we're going to honour these traditions that we're doing it with integrity. So if you'd like to find out more, please drop me a message. I can put you in touch with Rebecca, who really is an expert, and I can certainly sell you some of her wonderful product in the meantime if you'd like to try it. When you're working with cacao, it's always great to hold it across the heart centre, which is where we're really trying to access this plant energy. And Scorpio energy, as I mentioned, tends to be very low. We tend to work a lot in the sacral area. That's why Scorpio energy is often associated with creativity, passion, sex, and then a lot in the psychic area, up in the third eye. But we tend to struggle a bit to switch on the chakras in between. So if you have a lot of Scorpio energy, and if you're really in a space that encourages that, you may find that that resonates for you too. So that was really what drew me to cacao, an opportunity to take this kind of axis and open up the space in between. So we'll take a moment to honour and thank our guides, our spirits, all that are guiding us on our journey today. And hopefully by now you've got a sense of your intention for your sound bath, your sound journey. Call that intention into your heart, into your mind. Rearrange myself in front of the gongs now, so please take your time to get comfortable. If you have an eye pillow, now's the time to pop it on. Get yourself under your blanket, get your headphones on, make sure you're not going to be disturbed. I should warn you that you might be disturbed by little Coco, my furry friend, who is currently fast asleep over here. As soon as the sound starts, he's probably going to shoot past the camera, so keep an eye out. I'm just going to take a moment to keep an eye on these settings. Again, unfortunately, I don't seem to have any live chat, so do drop me a message on Instagram again if anything happens during the session that you need me to know about, because I'm not going to be able to see it, unfortunately, from over here, but I'll keep my phone where I can see it. Sound is one of our most potent and magical tools. The power of nature, power of science, power of physics and quantum theory. And you can see sound as a meditation, as a relaxation, as an opportunity to journey, expand your inner vision, your inner landscape, to expand your subconscious. So you can prepare to receive the sounds in any way that works for you. But even through the medium of the World Wide Web, you may find that some of the vibrations that come in release blockages, they shift energies or aspects that are stuck within the body and the mind, emotional space. And if this comes up for you, I really encourage you to try to sit with those shifts. They're happening for a reason, they're happening because something needs to be moved, and perhaps it's something inspired by what we've talked about tonight. Maybe it's a previous perception of abundance or a plan that needs to be let go of. Some karma, some baggage, something that you don't need anymore, that perhaps it's time to release. Remembering everything seems amplified and magnified under a supermoon. So maybe things that seem really big and important right now, by the end of this session, might have washed out. chakra. It's around the womb area for women, a little further back in the pelvic bowl for men. And here the colour is orange. The shape is a crescent moon with the points down towards the toes. And the sacral chakra is the seat of the water element, where we deal with emotions, with feelings, our reactions and responses to the world. I'd like you to imagine that sacral chakra as a circle, as a glowing orange circle that's spinning. And this circle is glowing bright with all of your transformative energy, all of your decisive power, your confidence, those really strong, deep emotions. And now you can imagine that orange light, that warm glow, rising up from the sacral chakra all the way up the body, through the solar plexus, through the heart, through the throat chakra, and up to the third eye. And as this energy releases through the crown of the head, it changes shape and grows wings and begins to rise high above you. find yourself floating through time, through space, perhaps through water. You're feeling serene and peaceful and still. Your energy is calm, positive and vibrant, engaging and warm and safe. And as you float, feeling the water lap at your cheekbones and your toes, you're gazing up to the sky. And up there in the sky you see that shape of a bird, like an eagle's wings, spread maybe a meter wide, maybe two. Majestic wingspan as this beautiful bird flies overhead. Its bird's eye view so big it can almost see the curve of the earth. And for the eagle, you can see the whole picture. And once the scorpion has shed its skin to highs to sink beneath the earth, explore the darkness, and the eagle has risen high to see the bigger picture, silver lining, the optimistic view of the future. Well, then the phoenix could rise from the ashes. These three Scorpio symbols offering us the power of transformation, the power of our own energy, all that's already within us. And as you float in the water, that eagle keeps flying above you, and now it's getting higher and further with each pass until eventually it flies away from your vision, away from your space, leaving you floating, relaxing softly, allowing your breath to come back into the nose and the lips, and gently you open your eyes and you're floating in the water or the lake or the river that you know, one that's familiar to you near your home or your favourite holiday spot. It's peaceful and relaxing, and you're full of transformative, empowered energy. And you're ready to begin swimming towards the shore. gently now, taking a few moments to notice where you are, to come back to your body. Perhaps with a few small movements in the fingers and the toes to start with. Allowing the wrists and the ankles to rotate and the head to softly drop side to side. Just a few small movements as you roll the chin to your chest. Very slowly, when you're ready, you might want to start rolling your shoulders, waking up the spine, and then gradually reaching the arms overhead, stretching out. Feeling the life, the energy flow back into the extremities, into the fingers and the toes. Hopefully it's nice and soft lighting or dark where you are, but either way, taking a few moments with the senses, perhaps bringing the palms together, rubbing them together until you feel the heat in between them, and then placing the palms over your eyes, taking a few deep breaths into the darkness, and softly opening your eyes into the shadow. Let the palms fall away. As we come to the end of our new moon in Scorpio soundscape, I encourage you to come back to your intention and to reflect upon the notes that you journaled, either in writing or in your mind or on your phone. Maybe about that Jupiter-Pluto journey we've all been on this year, maybe about Mars retrograde and what the sudden push forward looks like for you. Maybe about transformation, that most potent of Scorpio energies. What you're transforming now and next, what you're moving towards. And just taking those few moments to breathe and consider and gently, slowly banking any images, any words, any thoughts, intuitions or learnings that you're taking forward from your session this evening. And thank you all so much for being here. I know this probably felt like a slightly different session if some of you are with me all the time. As you can see, things are quite compact now, so hopefully I'll be able to bring a few more gongs and bowls back soon as we work towards an exciting new space. And I'm really gutted I haven't had the live chat tonight. One of the beautiful things about streaming live is that we can interact and you guys can ask me questions and we can chat, and I'm really aware that for whatever reason that wasn't working tonight, so I'm really sorry. And if you have questions, please drop me an email, leave a message in the YouTube, the feedback and the comments, and I can come back to you personally or in public as you prefer. For anyone who would like to get their hands on some of the stuff I've been using tonight, cacao, oils, frankincense, some of the crystals, then please head on over to www.rockandritual.co.uk, and I'll put that link in the YouTube notes afterwards for you. We are running a 21% discount until midnight tonight, which is to mark the 11/11 launch of the new website. So that is a top secret discount. It's only for subscribers and for you guys. So the code is subscriber21 if you would like to choose anything from the site, including a subscription to our monthly moon boxes, then jump on before midnight tonight. And if you miss that, there is a launch code that is going to be on the website until the end of November. So I hope you're able to jump on and join the community. Fingers crossed, we're going to get back to some live in-person sessions again in December, pending the next set of regulations. I hopefully will be seeing some of you in person for the next new moon in Sagittarius. The moon itself falls on the 14th of December, Monday. We'll be doing a live session on the 12th of December here in Newquay. There will be a winter solstice on the 20th of December, and one on the 19th as well, actually. And we will be working towards another beautiful New Year's Eve celebration together. So let's cross everything that we're able to meet. Meanwhile, I'll continue to be adding all of these events online as well. So they'll be running either live streams at real events, or they'll be running separately like tonight's, and you can always jump on and replay those over the course of the week whenever you like. So thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful new moon in Scorpio. If you have any questions, please hit me up, and Much gratitude for all of your attention and energy and love. Namaste.